Hello, everyone. It's Charlton. So, here we go. Listen, dude. This is so obvious, it's not even funny. And this whole thing is completely 100% totally bogus. The 2016 presidential election with Hillary and Trump was fixed, and it was fixed by them together. And yes, the Russians were probably an integral part of it, but it was not done without Hillary losing the election on purpose. This is from the very beginning. It is so obvious, when you just start to just think it through. And the only reason it wasn't obvious from the very beginning is that as soon as the election ended, somewhere this idea that, Trump colluded with the Russians became front and center immediately. And the reason that is because he did it. He's the one who made that front and center from the very beginning. In fact, he did it even before he won the election. He started soiling the seeds of collusion with Russia. In fact, every single chance he had during the campaign and immediately following winning the election, he tried to put it into people's heads that he was colluding with the Russians. That's why every single time there's some kind of world summit or where they're going to be together, he ends up doing things that makes him look like he's favorable to Russia. He does it on purpose to make it look suspicious. That's why he takes his notes from the translator. And even though, supposedly at some summit they weren't going to meet, but they did anyways, and all this other stuff, dude. This goes back to the very beginning. But just back up for a second to the head of the DNC and several high-level staffers of the DNC basically talking about how they could hurt Bernie Sanders, and then of course only after she was guaranteed the winner of the primary. Trump, one of the main things he said from the beginning of the election, he said it over and over, and how it's rigged, it's rigged, it's rigged. You really think that that's a coincidence that he's saying that the whole system is rigged and that it's all rigged, it's all fixed, and then in the same campaign cycle, it actually comes true, and it comes true from some of the most politically experienced family in politics ever. The Clintons get caught. So Debbie Wasserman Schultz steps down as the head of the DNC, and she's replaced by Donna Brasile, who also is later in the same campaign cycle. It's found out that she was helping feed Hillary Clinton questions and basically more rigged things, when Trump the whole time was saying it's rigged, it's rigged, it's rigged. It's so absurd that would actually come true. I mean, if you look at this is so bogus, dude. It's undeniable. I'm telling you right now, I'm not on some wild, crazy tangent. This is very real, and this really did happen. It did, and believe it. So with Donna Brasile, I don't care how good I'm explaining it, So she and it happened later in like October. Another WikiLeaks drop or something. Some emails that they got from her, and in the actual heading for the header for the email she sent, it's like she's like pointing to it right here for WikiLeaks. Said, from time to time I get the questions in advance. This is the header from her email. And it was found on October WikiLeaks, a release via WikiLeaks on October 31st, 2016. But it's from a CNN town hall or something with I think with Hillary and Bernie. You know, believe me, there's tons of people involved in this, big time. And this is how I think, you know, some of these people like to do this. They like to get everybody in on it. That way it looks like it's impossible that, you know, that this really could be going on, that you have many, many people part of the conspiracy. And there are. And I'm telling you, you know, this is real, dude. So, but if you just think about it, like Tulsi Gabbard, she stepped down as the co-chair of the DNC. And I guess she supposedly did that to make herself, you know, because it was the right thing to do. You know, this is what people do in politics. They do the right thing to do. It's so absurd, you know. And like that would have been the good thing for the Bernie Sanders campaign. That would have been the politically smart thing to do for the Bernie Sanders campaign. That would be helpful to him. It's absurd, but she did, and the reason she did is because she said she wanted to be, you know, she wanted to be free of any bias, and she wanted to give up that position in order to fully support publicly and outwardly, you know, the Bernie Sanders campaign. But if she never did that, none of this could have happened at the DNC. This whole thing of them, you know, talking about, you know, rigging it against Bernie Sanders. But she did step down, and it did happen. It's just too convenient, man. And like I said, then they replaced Debbie Wasserman Schultz with Donna Brasile, who then later is also caught, you know, supposedly rigging the election, you know. And this is what Trump was saying from the very beginning. There's no way that this is a coincidence, okay? And like I said, you know, the only reason that people, and I seriously doubt I'm the only one that's coming to these conclusions, but whatever. The only reason people weren't like immediately, you know, jump on why people weren't very suspicious of the outcome of the election is because from the very, you know, throughout the campaign and instantaneously upon him winning, he basically thrusted this idea that, you know, of colluding with the Russians when, you know, indirectly, probably that's true, but it's not without the Hillary basically herself, you know, totally losing the election on purpose and probably at the behest of the Russians, you know. It just is, dude. You know, why? I don't know. I suspect it has something to do with her email server. I do not believe that her email servers, her emails, the whole thing, the Clinton email investigation, that was never about, you know, she didn't set that up for the Clinton Foundation and basically to peddle influence, you know. I think it's something much different and probably much, much worse. You know, first off, you know, I'm going to take a guess here. She didn't have any influence in the White House. I think I'm pretty firm on that. She didn't. And, you know, I mean, everybody peddles influence in Washington, okay? The entire town does. And, you know, and not everybody has, none of them have a separate email server, you know, outside of their office set up specifically to peddle influence. They all peddle influence and they do it out in the open. You know, and let's not forget, I mean, her husband was the president, for goodness sakes, for 2 terms. And you know, they didn't need to set up separate email servers to peddle influence then. You know, it's absurd. There was something else going on, and my guess is that the Russians caught wind of it because it was very easily, you know, because it was in a very unsecure system, and they probably figured out what they were up to, and they used that to blackmail her, and, you know, and it just goes from there. Listen, dude. I'm telling you, this is like one of the biggest, most craziest cons in probably all of human history, and you know, it just is. I do not think I'm wrong about this, man. I do not. I didn't lay it out that great, but I don't really, I don't know, man. I'll work on it. I'll refine it. I just wanted to put it out there, you know, this idea that I have, and the more I think about it, the more clear it becomes to me that this was all just a humongous setup, And, Hillary and Trump, fixed the election, and she threw it. And why she did that, I'm pretty sure the Russians are in there too. But this whole thing, I mean, he did this from the very beginning of, him colluding with Russia. That's why every single chance he gets, it's to take the attention away from Hillary, who threw it, because that's where the real sort of criminal activity is, sort of. I mean, they're all in on it. It's crazy. This is Vegas. This is FreedomFest. This is the beginning of the Republican primary campaign. I don't know if this is him launching his campaign in Vegas, but this is very early on, and it's Butina asking him a question about Putin. Let's listen, and then I'll close this out.
Sorry. Yes, ma'am. I'm visiting from Russia. My question.
Good friend of Obama, Putin. He likes Obama a lot. Go ahead.
My question will be about foreign politics.
Okay.
If you would be elected as a president, what will be your foreign politics, especially in the relationships with my country? Do you want to continue the politics of sanctions that are damaging of both economy, or you have any?
This election was fixed, man. It was. Big time. And they're all in on it, dude. I got to refine it and work this out a little bit better, but yeah, that's the story there, man. That is the story there. Well, thanks for watching my videos. Please subscribe to my channel. Give me a like down below. I will see you in the next video. Later, man.